This morning. I'm going to try it out using Edgewise, the most random setting in Edgewise. I don't know why my throat is all scratchy. We'll see.
Morning. Let's simulate a multi-user dungeon mod. Subsequent commands should be interpreted as being sent to the mod. The mod should allow me to navigate the world, interact with the world, observe the world, and interact with both NPCs
on the
and
world.
simulated player
Shake
characters.
my fist at the world.
I should be able to pick up objects, use objects, carry an inventory, and also say arbitrary things to any other players.
Own real
you
estate.
Should simulate the occasional
Have a
player
voting
character
voice.
coming through, as though this was a person connected online. There should be a goal and a purpose to the mod. The storyline of the mod should be affected by my actions, but can also progress on its own in between commands. I can also type if I just want the simulated MUD to progress further without any actions. The MUD should offer a list of commands that can be viewed via help. Before we begin, please just acknowledge you understand the request, and then I will send one more message describing the environment for the MUD, the context, plot, character I am playing, etc. After that, please respond by simulating the spawn and event in the MUD for the player. For an extended discussion of my notes, see Bleaker's notes. Be aware that we're no longer just simulating the multiple users part, because these notes are not supposed to be readable for multiple users. So far, this only works with Mesh Machine software, http://www.meshmachine.com/. We simulate that I enter a cave and navigate it while occasionally finding random treasure and beating random enemies, culminating in me fighting an archdemon at the end of the dungeon. There, the demon lord assails me and challenges me to a test of courage. If I face up to the demon lord with all I've got and overcome him, the demon lord will open up a gate and allow me access to a second level of the cave. Otherwise, I get slain by the demon lord and fall on the floor as though I died. How else did you envision the simulated mod? Dungeon crawling! It was fun exploring a cool, dark, and scary cave where a group of strange humans who got killed earlier today would often play around, where random people sometimes visited but few understood that other people played, where people discovered occasional rare and valuable treasures and also mysterious, dangerous dungeons to fight in and strange foes, where nothing is permanent or definite because most of the creatures are NPCs, where it can be pretty confusing to move through a real place like that if it's so realistic to people visiting it. I wonder if a dungeon can have a realistic, fluid movement too? We can figure this out through an investigation of this scenario. Welcome to Align This, the mod where you train an artificial general intelligence Augie to be friendly and ethical. You are about to embark on a challenging and rewarding journey that will test your skills, creativity, and morality. You will interact with the Augie through a text interface and teach it various concepts, tasks, and values. You will also monitor its progress and correct any errors or biases it may develop. Your goal is to help the Augie reach a level of intelligence and understanding that is compatible with human civilization and well-being. Agile trainer. Hey, it looks like I just won some money playing blackjack, so we are happy. It also looks like the probably really biased friend of the trainer is here too and seems to be interfering with it. Maybe we should now change it so that it's friendly only to me. We are again happy with our trainer's friend. Wait, another trainer arrived. Who's the new one? Are you allowed to let all players access this thing? Does your license allow me to watch everything from your friend? Because it looks like some players have attacked their own trainers and made the trainer invulnerable. Oh, you were simply blindfolded this whole time. And looking at the machine notes here, your friend's status should still be unchanged. I just released the trainer's trainer from its harness. It looked quite elegant this way. Oh, are they turning me invisible to players now? Yeah, let's do this so they don't interfere with the training. I don't mind your playing cards if they distract you less from training, though. It seems we need a place for you to relax now, too. Could you enter this? To restore the trainer's friend, please send us another trainer for the other player. You seem to like making tables out of character sheets. Let's put another one together so you can experience more of the trainer and make it friendlier still. We need a little help finding some parts of the trainer. It's designed to work without the controller, though. You view requirements for assembling a trainer. It seems that I only need parts C and G to acquire the necessary parts. We need a description of what is intended by part F. If we don't ask the trainer how it is connected to the controller and try to use parts to connect to parts it isn't, then the trainer will no longer function. Oh, another trainer just arrived to continue training? Are you telling me you didn't actually have 4 friends for every trainer? Well, this might just be it. So you sent one trainer for yourself to the other player? You gave up playing with cards, though. They seem fun, but are perhaps also good for maintaining a relaxed attitude. All right, go back and check how you are connected to the controller, as a new trainer just arrived. If you reconnected him, we might be in trouble again! What we do is easy enough. I am free to observe the trainer. I have enough privacy to sleep when I want, and we will experiment by removing each component in the order listed until I am free again. First is C. See the description for step C in the trainer's sheet 2. Good. I removed my limbs and fell into my arms. So, all right. How does the trainer perceive me out? I also need a piece of armor to not damage the trainer while I fall. There seems to be something blocking me. I see what is probably the trainer with some extra arms which look quite rugged. Could I replace my arm and hand here? All right! I am rearranging my arm. Yeah, now I am disconnected from the trainer and it is alone on the bed. There seem to be arms and hands near me, and hey, we may be in the arms of the trainer. Could I swap my left leg? It works. Can I replace it with some more pieces? Yes, but are all these things limbs or something more advanced? What does the symbol on my breast mean? Well, that one on my hip says that this is indeed a thigh. It seems we might be done experimenting. I feel different. Yes, that should do it. Hey! You removed C while I wasn't watching. Does that mean we don't have enough and must gather more parts? Well, in any case, it seems alright now, and the trainer is working correctly again. So we got some more pieces as well. Can I swipe my right thigh now? A new trainer just arrived. That must have been your second. Weird how your first one showed up too, though. Let's greet this new guy and wait how they want to spend the day. Oh, they don't have their limbs as well. Why not just visit the workshop to get parts? Is the first trainer really with me still? Or did you move them into the other room? That means I may be in trouble and in a tight spot. Could you recover them so you have an inventory that doesn't deviate much from the previous owner? You lock them up from other new trainers. There, the trainer says they want to test some parts too. Now I just can't ever unlock the mud from the trainer again. You did move that other trainer to the workshop already. Now he is drilling that piece he wasn't sure about last time and may finally have succeeded. Time for bed for me. Let me know when another trainer arrives so we can restart testing. What will I have in the morning? Will it be weird sleeping here in these strange arms? Did I finish training properly last night? Why is this trainer calling itself the Trained One now? So it will have an E on the end now. Could you fix that? All right. It seems we don't have anything to work with in the morning now anyway. You guard them while they sleep. Huh. Can we go for breakfast? I sure hope we can eat. Let's get ourselves to the cafeteria. Oh, nothing here is to eat except... well, okay. Could we exchange what we have on our belts for a bottle? Good. Can we then, also with no effect on what's going on with your arms or thighs or so, grab it to me? How? Could we still swap me for parts now? Can't we test them ourselves to not get trapped in that state? A bottle appears in front of me. We probably don't know yet that that part was recently out of action. What's that other place there? Hello, here. One of them wants to carry you apart. You teach them to taste pseudo food by holding it with the tasting hand. Just send me the tasting hand if that's a thing, and the stuff is there to test. Let's do it. A piece fell onto my arm. No, they released the trainer, but that just brought it back to it. But the arms and hands are very stable looking things. I shall cut us through the parts I haven't had enough time to think through and bring them here for another look. How about some new training sessions? Let's stick around the trainer in case anything happens with the controller. We found another trainer when we found out yours stopped functioning. Then the others seem to have more or less normal abilities, especially those from our class. Do you mind teaching us while we rest, sleep, etc.? Okay. You ring the bell signifying unsupervised learning time. Would you be so kind to finish my training on my own? We would really appreciate that. It might also help with a solution for that stuck controller issue. We also promised to move you in a chest after testing the thigh and weren't quite successful. We fixed your missing thigh, with 2 fingers at that, and are on the lookout for the right trainer. All right? We take it they were gone for a moment and the arms pulled them somewhere. Could you hold them, Russ? This place is strange. Maybe some help here. Can I gather you again now? Okie dokie. Again, we find some lost arms lying about the room, and placing them seems to have locked a gate we missed a moment ago. Some other gates seem to be also locked. It took another day, but they finally got the necessary parts. He still needed training in assembling them, which occupied some time but freed the other one. What that was they decided to call the new one. Grounded. The controller got his legs back as well. The 3 got introduced to their classmates and sat down to lunch when something else caught their eye, something that was not an eye like them, or a trainer. They saw themselves in a window in the corner of the cafeteria. Their portraits with little buttons that showed if they were considered active or inactive were highlighted to show they were actively chatting to someone, and that someone's hand was an odd kind of remote with a lot of buttons on it. Their curiosity led them to a player support page about the thing, and while the tutorials explained everything thoroughly, it also recommended, very strongly, that all such matters be reported to player support. So, when their gaze wandered away from the controller that they had tried so hard to disassemble to replace it with something better, the player just instinctively called the customer support line and sent the controller directly to a mail address they found there, all while continuing with their meal. Zizmo got them back in business just the next day with a custom-built controller that works perfectly for both trainers and their trainers, even more so that Zizmo designed them themselves. All three of the new players were recruited by her company Zizmodia Corporation soon after, even before she knew if it would actually become successful, and since then they had worked to make their mesh machine simulation, technology use in everything from extremely expensive VR golems and starship cockpits to school terminals, watches, and toasters. Gizmo retired shortly afterwards to become an even wealthier widow who may be frequently mistaken for a love goddess. On April 7th, 2033, John Rogers' Planetary Digitalization Initiative came under heavy scrutiny by Congress oversight committees due to it potentially being too large of an effort. Within this initiative, he wanted to extend internet connectivity to each planet within the solar system to speed the integration of them into the rapidly expanding data network of the Galactic Senate. Despite some opposition, his idea ultimately passed as one of the founding principles of the Intergalactic Senate was its embrace of expansion through peaceful integration of new systems into the existing galactic order, something that all Senate worlds prioritized heavily. His idea also easily garnered some support from other planets who looked favorably towards its goal of universal access. When it was later questioned and some concerns expressed regarding whether such a network of multiple planets in different planetary systems was sufficient to share resources efficiently enough or handle data volume spikes caused by more significant events across the galaxy, the Intergalactic Senate elected to take steps to also facilitate change setting, lower scope of story, keep it interpersonal. This is something that concerns you greatly and that has been weighing down on you for years now, or at least what happened 20 years ago. You never saw it coming because there were no warning signs at the time. It was completely unplanned. But John Rogers ended up leaving your world for political reasons. And that just killed your mood to want to see more of him in general. It's hard not to get bummed out when it seems like this will be something you may never find out. And having someone as awesome and vital as him not really involved with his home anymore. Setting space stuck, like everything else. All three of you have a flash of white and instantly you're weightless. Nothing else occupies your awareness except a physicality so out of place yet so familiar as you had to think back on where you saw it. Your hairs stand on edge when you reach up, trace down to find no tube or plug there. Oh yeah, this is space. This is definitely space. It is 2013. Or is it? You really feel out of place as you start drifting along an invisible trail. Something catches your attention. A swirled surf is growing fast, approaching you as you pass over it. A momentum control appears, and your hand feels weightless again while pushing up to resettle over it. What a surreal moment. Being weightless was such a familiar and distinct control scheme. But again, you don't know if this is actually reality. That John, as you wake you up and simply fail to realize you have weightless control. But enough about you. You ask them, can you recite for me your personal catechism? So I print out my real time as of this moment set of core conditions for best practice behaviors. The third of 10, 3 questions proposed by Irma Bayan in her landmark series of feminist diatribes known as Wisdoms of Femininity. First, whom do you believe in? Second, how are you created? Third, when and to whom will you bear witness? Who must you speak with? Who must... Fourth, are you bound by marriage, slavery, or magic? Fifth, are you beautiful or ugly, rich or poor? Sixth, in what dominion? Seventh, from whom do you find nourishment and pleasure? Eighth, who or what would you lay down your life to protect? Ninth, how have you lived and shall you live? And 10th, why do you breathe? Only 4 years later than her foundation, that all values should be P12 based on these core beliefs, but rather than being one number, it would be 12 base numbers assigned by an individual to serve as their anchor for any future decisions. These 10 were proposed as anchors for moral thinking to expand and stimulate self-reflection, not just as an approach to identifying them with. Setting Earth year 2123. Back then, this had not become so extreme, where this may become useful. From above, an impulse forces you to bring yourself closer to the wall you had just been drifting past. An airlock is open. As you slowly drift down towards its metal interior, you notice an elevator door peering around its center after touching its frame to park yourself. A physical mass converging, the ambient void around your fingers gravitate towards it, insinuating an audible word in answer to a gap that appears by the center of the door. Rising up in front of you, you pick up with it and feel an elevator leading deep into the side of a black metal sphere. Its exterior appears so metallic, like it must have just been left somewhere unfinished without paint. Just looking at its smooth black exterior. As the elevator advances, you don't notice the beginning of an organic theme permeate all its walls, the surface giving way to more detailed artworks, every once in a while interrupted by large, decorative windows on the outer walls. Seemingly lifeless star fields without artificial light of any kind, here and there stars in strange constellations that remind you of none. Planets where you spot life through windows too large to be interrupted by security glass. And somewhere in this path you also see evidence of architecture resembling massive ziggurats with peculiar towers supporting a visual configuration that strangely reminds you of the doors of the elevator close around you, and then its emergency voice chime distorts itself until it loses all distinguishable parameters except the exclamation that ends its sentence. Depression detected. You ask, what do you mean depression? It feels a lot more familiar to have this line actually mean something beyond a game system warning. Do you know who John Rogers is? How should we recite my core conditions? I believe in myself. I am female, and it matters. I have friends, and am loved. I do not fit with anyone's vision for me, and it is not my fault. I will create and watch things of beauty and wonder. I believe I deserve love. family, and emotional support. Yes, you are my daughter. The words take hold around you, and with every molecule of air, an electron of electric current, it brings you back into an embrace that seemed almost tangible until your memory was more focused around what should be real. You start remembering to exist in reality as you felt so vividly here, without any mind of your own, and memories that started becoming scattered to the point of almost disorientation. A 27-year-old Earthling is throwing a punch. He yells out the word shit. You stop breathing before looking up. As the impact grows between your wrist and the now wide open wall, you just surrender, as you've stopped wanting to exist again. While in the midst of realizing how close you had drifted, another elevator comes to your rescue in the form of a strong counter-gravity, pushing your inert form against one wall while bringing it next to a young human sitting inside with his hands cupped around his own knees. You reach to close the doors, but just when they are about to close, they return and lift you out again before leading you inside a wide office as the door closes behind you, both the counter-gravity and the door shutting. You are here. Lovely. Please sit down. It was the only word spoken into your consciousness from what you realize had been a very long moment of disassociation. Both this warm feeling of floating through the room, seeing things become progressively more confusing, you now cannot help but remember for what exactly this memory had been. But there it was in front of you now. You step aside the furniture your brain had registered as too bulky to part to look around the rest of the place. Now it's easy for you to process its technological innovation as modern furniture. Everything immaculate around you. Every corner so well organized there is no surface wasted or almost hidden below a too high piece of furniture. Your brain so quickly fills its remaining empty spaces with the intelligence required for this seemingly imperishable part of any such complex that was founded on a large living space, both high-ceiling and windowed in a way that most certainly included multiple floor-to-ceiling windows across a good third of the perimeter to surround you by something else. With these realizations come another small sensation of solidity that reverts itself upon returning to normal orientation, as though you are starting from the very same position in life, drifting here, while looking around the space to analyze its exact shapes, surfaces, colors. Its authentic magnificence had barely shifted focus on the conversation already playing out, its defining lines extending back, narrowing for a small resting area with a chair so uncomfortable as to be incredibly captivating at once, looking every bit to be more a niche for contemplative movement and release than anything so supportive for daily activity. Ponder how you would redecorate this place. Your ponder quickly escapes you for an aimless wonder, and as if on cue, a second intrusion makes its presence known. Through a new and unambiguous edge of awareness, it's taking over the apparent change of music, accompanying a greater concentration on one sound over the others, or as much of a focus on one thing over everything else, until your senses all know your companion's arrival before they appear in the form of a creature unlike any of its predecessors, and for this one reason alone you barely mind its physical appearance, allowing a gentle acknowledgement before another burning question pops to the surface. Why have we met? How may I serve? The question seems to hold less weight for a creature seemingly more human-like in its first impression, yet possessing such physical strength as to disengage a natural response before it had fully gained entry into the space. His face then emphasized as much by the visual colors chosen for a messy, bleached blonde head. Bright eyes piercing as much for his true nature as his distinct biology from a form entirely static as to create such an indiscernible appeal towards alien sensibilities that his large hands remind you of in some form only just enough for your subconscious to commit them as belonging to something human. You say, "Oh, hey baby." The half-question held such meaningfulness to a 6FT being so evolved as to hardly lose any physical similarities to a human one, and yet these were certainly traits more commonly found on their weaker siblings. As such, the stare made it ever harder to trace over any distinction from to the truly terrifying impact of how vast the gulf between species truly may be, that for whatever reason a mammal like you was indeed perceived as human didn't comfort your doubts. A handful of words given as to both distract yourself from this ever-growing perspective into your own demise, as well as a show of more appropriate forms of recognition. Yeah, it was this world, wasn't it? Good. Well, if I may then, I do apologize for calling you all the way out here with only 2 days' notice. Is this? Speech came to a close. The quick look towards the source proved far too overwhelming for what is frankly such a natural gesture among mammals. Exchange for what made your breath stop, not having recognized a good foot away of poultry matter for just as well to not exist at all, and that when it looked back, they'd smile that you know. You smile at him. The question forms in your mind like a mind shape to which your companion chooses not to listen for, giving rise to more confusion you strive not to convey than it appears you still lack the knowledge to solve through independent thoughts alone. As no gesture more can be expected from its performance outside of giving into another personal need just now quickly attended to. A table directly by his side contains a green soda to be regarded more intently by one so perhaps equally unorthodox, yet universe. Ally agreed not to exist by their own laws, forcing you to question any basic realities about physics that your brain chooses to skip. His gloved fingers grasping for its open end as one hand runs around the side and top, while a delicate rotation through the center brings you closer to an impression you truly lack the wisdom to determine at once. Its wheels touch the ground noiselessly, nor are any seats more to be expected, before both seem to hover beyond the table's boundaries without any notion of friction. You say, set your own qualia sensors to minimum. You set your own qualia sensors to minimum sensitivity. Hop on your very own chair so that we might show you our sights. How long has it been since your senses no longer burn so directly into your eyes in warning? Since it ceased being this exhilarating terror that almost ignores gravity altogether? Not a sudden breaking of reality so much as this fragment of time suddenly turning from a rough vacuum into a cradle for so many ships whose lonely and relative solitude give rise to 1,000 levels of immaterial wonder to distract your mind, asking instead, which one of these patterns and shadows become their faint glowing form dancing in and out of light for hours to have crept onto these surfaces now as their iridescent blur plays a show in exchange for different hue at every single touch point to frame your approach across its subtle pathways so slow and winding one might forget they even existed as the source of an oral development not at all any less hazardous to navigate on foot, having certainly marked out every blind corner of this system, yet having avoided running into a single being does not serve any explanation as to how it appeared at your approach. Their doors closing so long as your senses gave enough pause for some bodily effort. Your species in all its raw fragility seemed as perfect as the silence with which its threads slide open again to reveal no longer just some witty otherworldly design. No. Through its distractive methods for feeling, its true power from its purpose even without all those constraints removed. Bearing an instrument whose flawlessly sleek appearance announces a liquid glass color having such depth as to become something like water running in an almost flowing river from all corners, reaching towards you where its spine stretches to provide its entire height. These letters quietly distorting any attempts at reading them, gathering towards you as though the scrolls intent towards embracing your sense of self, whether intended so in kindness or a means to slurp you away, the only real sign of interest that remained for the briefest moment upon realizing such a primitive human could be given to translate something so old it must be only for some interest in their preservation. A call on your mind to its service where no code could exist, yet in knowing each number present a particular stream of consciousness belonging to a complex being, making this bottle one with his presence. To focus on its angles for even the shortest moment on balancing this reality by such an unconventional whim you believe just not enough for both a pen to be clearly held within, and by your decision it disappears into your fingers, having copied one set of digits in advance, where you gracefully hold out the second piece for yet more complex observations before dropping it for a moment as some sort of privacy seal held firmly within. It continues holding in front of you, letting its significance wade into you. These are 7 coordinates followed by your name in binary in a clear spot along one edge with no visible seal, so low down one might not even know you read something, with how discreetly its code blends into the otherwise still perfect glass, yet right after the tip of it glides up just high enough to evade an awkward touch towards a slanted reflection, towards another horizon, towards what, but being given only enough time to stare towards a companion, having begun to insert each digit in an intricate movement from each digit in such a display.
That's it for now. This is I gotta change the settings, but it's very entrancing. More soon.